Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is the live Q&A session that I said I will be doing. So I'm going to get straight into it. This can be replayed later. I know now it's Friday, it's a public holiday. Some viewers were requesting that I do it another time because of some good points that they brought up, like such that it's a long weekend, the children at home, people are fasting, some people at work, and Jumu'ah is today, so some people, can't jump on. So I'm going to get into it and people can watch the replay. So I've been focusing this week on affairs and cheating and betrayal and all these types of things. Reason being because it does come up a lot in counseling. I was asked the question through a story, what is the most common thing that I work with, and it is, I had to think about it, but it is cheating, in one way or another. And there are a lot of misconceptions about cheating, a lot of myths, so today I wanted to just clarify that, some myths, and also answer some of your questions. Now, there was a lot of questions. A lot of them are repeated questions. So like the most common one was, how do I get over my husband's, cheating? He doesn't admit. He doesn't show remorse. What do I do? Please help. It's pretty much that over and over and over and over again. And what I'd like to start with is, the definition of cheating, or what is affairs? What are affairs? أنت شخص رائع. بارك الله فيك خالد. من أين أنت? Where are you listening from? And whoever's listening to this, you can type in what country you're listening in from. Okay, so there are multiple types of affairs, right? There isn't just one type of affair, and these aren't fixed. And this is it, and there's no other. No, there's always new ones popping up. I mean, a couple of years ago, there was no such thing as an online affair. There was no such thing as an online affair, but now there is, right? So these things keep on changing. So the first type of affair I would like to mention is the emotional affair. This one's very, very common, nowadays anyway. An emotional affair is one that you build with someone over time. It's not accidental, or anything like that. It's something that is built up over time, and you see the relationship as this special friendship. This person is my special secret friend, and that I can be myself in this. So this is what they're chasing in an emotional affair, is that the person or the people in it can become another person who they want to be in that space, or they can be themselves in that space where they can't be in another relationship. And it's seen as a special type of friendship, right? It's built up over time. It could be with someone like a work colleague, a neighbor, someone you interact with frequently, someone at the coffee shop, someone, that you see quite frequently. And it becomes intrusive to the marriage, because now there's this secret friendship which has crossed many boundaries. Okay, and that's the reason why it's kept a secret. So these emotional affairs usually do lead up to being sexual and physical. They very rarely stay emotional. And there's a fulfillment of needs, in this relationship, in this friendship. It's still as bad. These aren't minimizing, these types. There's different types of affairs. They're all, all these types of affairs, all this cheating, have the potential to blow up the marriage. They have the potential to kill the marriage. They all have the potential, or will, destroy the trust in the marriage. And that's why it's kept a secret. And maybe I should have started with this, the definition of cheating. What is it? There's many different definitions out there, and me working with a lot of couples, I ask these questions: what's your definition of cheating? Have you discussed it with each other? What boundaries do you have around those definitions? But it's never discussed, right? So usually people who cheat would say, well, that's not cheating. you know, it was just on the phone, or it was just an emotional affair, or whatever you want to call it, right? So the definition of cheating is one that is secret, boundaries are crossed, there's flirtatious behavior, and it has the potential, if the spouse was to find out, to blow up the marriage. So that's an emotional affair. These are quite common. Why are they common now? Allahu Alam, I wouldn't know exactly what to point it down to, but I do see in marriages that there is a lack of friendship in marriages these days, where the husband and wife can be friends, they have this emotional closeness, where they know each other on a deep level, they know each other's inner world. To love someone is to know them. That element is missing. And these aren't excuses, right? I'm just saying what I see out there, what's lacking in the marriage. Also, emotional affairs, like I said before, they're places where you want to be yourself, or you want to be this new version of yourself who you can't be at home, right? Craving this emotional friendship where you can be seen, heard, understood, felt, stuff like this. And we all crave an emotional connection, to be honest. So these are very dangerous affairs. However, they know that this will not last, right? There's no romantic love there. There is sexual content and crossing of boundaries, but there's no love, right? Love per like husband and wife type love. It's like a deep friendship. The other type of affair is the traditional one that everyone sort of refers to, which is the romantic affair, right? This one comes with a toxic type of attachment between the married person and the person that they're cheating with. Okay, maybe this was a bad time doing this because my mouth is dry and I can't drink water. Okay. Yeah, so the romantic affair is where there is this attachment. It's a toxic attachment. It's driven by limerence. Limerence is the clouding of your brain due to oxytocin and all these love hormones and feel-good hormones. Also false or unrealistic promises, what we call future faking. So there could be this, we're going to have this house together and a white picket fence together. I'm going to escape, help you escape your miserable marriage, and we're going to set out in the sunset, beautifully together, and things are going to be perfect. So it has this element to it, and they love each other here. They think that they love each other here. There's extreme love here. They exchange that word, I love you, a lot. They believe that they are a couple and that they should be together. And in most cases, in these ones, the marriage will end in divorce, or the person would leave that marriage and go to another marriage, start a new marriage or relationship or whatever you want to call it. That's the romantic affair. Okay. Then you have the one night stands. So these are places like sex services, even not sex services, or just, some people go to bad places and get drunk and, pick up a person. Men and women do this. They pick up a man or pick up a woman, and they will have a one night stand with them. This is common as well, but in the dark side of our community, right? It's common probably with other communities. It is actually more common with them. It's more out there with them, but with us, it's in the dark side of it, right? So this is just a one night stand. So there's no attachment at all. They're seeking some sort of fulfillment of something, some craziness in their life. They want to try new things, all this other crap. That's the one night stand. Could be paid services or non-paid services. It's still considered cheating, of course. The next one is the repeat offender type of affair. This is like a sex addict affair. So So this is not a one-off thing. There's no interval where, long space where they haven't done it. And it's quite, if you look back in their history, or if they look in their own history, it's more than once, okay? And there's a sort of a pattern there. They relapse. It's like a drug, right? So here they're addicted to sex, but not the sex as in, as some people try to frame it, like, oh, I have this high sex drive and I'm this strong man who has this strong sex drive and stuff like that. It's more of it's an addiction. The same prerequisites that a heroin addict will become a heroin addict, these sex addicts have the same traumas, the same upbringing, the same reasoning as to why they become addicts. So no, they're not, just some sex kings sent from heaven or whatever. No, it's actually an addiction that they fulfill and seek and pursue, and it doesn't make them, if they are meeting someone and they say to this person that they met, I've got a high sex drive. I mean, that's a red flag, because it means that you're not going to be enough for me. You know what I mean? It's going to be something that it's going to keep on happening. And the problem here is that the female might listen to this and say, well, I can set you straight, because I'm also God's gift to men, So that's the sex addiction type of affair. It's repeated. It's not one off. They're usually addicted to pornography, and not normal pornography, but just weird fetishes and weird crap like, dwarf type sex, and even juvenile sex, underage sex, and all sorts of weird stuff. These people have a very dark side of them, right? I won't go more further with that, but that's a sex addict type of affair. The next type of affair is the love addict affair. Okay, the love addict affair. This is different to the sex addict. So these people are addicted to love. Okay, they're addicted to feeling flattered. They're addicted to feeling, that romance phase when you first meet someone. They always want that. Now, while it's okay to, court your spouse throughout your marriage, it's actually encouraged to do that and to feel those feelings, right? But we've got to call it for what it is. We will never, ever, ever feel those feelings that we felt initially. And those feelings that we feel initially are not bad. Like, it's okay. You have to go through that. It's normal to have that, that romantic limerence, honeymoon phase. That's, it's normal, right? But these people who are love addicts, if you want to call them, and these aren't clinical terms, by the way, right? These aren't like in the DSM or anything. These are just things that people have termed. Some psychologists have created these lists and stuff like that. So yeah, love addicts. They're addicted to that attention, that, love me, don't take your eyes away from me, flatter me, love bomb me, sweep me off my feet, all that type of stuff. And they seek it from, people other than their partner. The other type of affair that we sometimes see is the revenge affair. So usually the revenge affair is someone who is extremely hurt by their partner, who is usually a repeat offender. So they are someone who is probably a sex addict, and they're so hurt, and their PTSD is so, flared up. But they also have this, you actually did it to me? You cheated on me when, I took you in pity. I had any guy I want. I'm talking to the man. Man is the cheater, woman the betrayed one. Because, by the way, all the questions that came in there was like 50 something questions. They were all from females, except for one. It was from a brother. So even though I'm saying him and her, but it's not, it can be replaced, right? It can be her or him, but I'll be using him and her, right? So the revenge affair is, she would think that, well, I married you in the start, in pity, and pretty much I'm more good looking than you, and, you're not attractive, but I did it anyway because people were telling me to settle down and fear Allah and all this type of stuff, so I did it, but then you cheated on me. So then what can develop is that this person would, not always, right, but the person who does this revenge type of affair, will do it just to hurt them back. It's revenge, Obviously, they'll just pick up anyone, do what they have to do, and they want the partner to find out. Right, that does happen. You have also the online type of cyber affairs. So these are people who now, and this one here is becoming very, very popular, right? It could be through those, I don't know all their names, but there are things like OnlyFans where you subscribe to people, and you follow particular females, and you choose, you look at their personality, you do a background check, and then you subscribe to the ones that you like, and yeah, you create this sort of like an emotional connection online, right? This could also be pornography, even though with OnlyFans and the likes, it's double-sided or two-sided. I don't know exactly how it works, but you're choosing someone, right? And they may be able to say your name. I don't know how it works. I learn from my clients. I learn from my clients and some books and literature that I try to stay up to date with. And also, part of being a registered counselor, you got to do OPD, ongoing professional development. So I choose these types of topics to keep on learning, right? So the person in OnlyFans would have to, you can tell them, say my name, whatever, and all this type of stuff. So it becomes very personalized, right? Whereas porn, it's not that personalized, but you still are, it still is a cyber type of cheating. Spouses of porn addicts do feel the betrayal because you're looking at another female, another private part, other people having sex, and it's all fantasies. So, while you're watching this, you are fantasizing of something, right? And that makes your partner feel inadequate. I'm not good enough. All this insecurity start to pop up, and they also feel betrayed. Like, marriage is about protecting your private part and only showing it to your spouse, right? That's one of the main features. So cyber affairs are very, very common now, even through social media, inboxing and DMing and stuff like this. There are relationships being built there, and I know how hard it is for people to get married these days to try to find spouses, but cyber affairs do usually begin on those platforms, right? So Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat and stuff like this. All right, the last type of affair is the exit strategy affair. Okay, that's someone who wants to leave. They want out. They've been wanting out for many, many years, and they don't know how to do it. They want it to end. They do it in this very destructive and toxic way, where they will cheat and they will want to get caught, not for revenge, but to end the marriage, to end the relationship. So that's pretty much an overview of the different types of affairs. Now I'll begin with the questions. Bear with me with these questions. I'm going to just read them as I see them here. And let us begin. Okay, so why do people cheat? This is a question from a female, and always a female, unless I'll say otherwise. Why do people cheat? Is it they are looking for an internal change? What are they seeking? So the reason why people cheat, there's no one reason why people cheat. I've mentioned now, the different types of cheating, so that can sort of give you some context as to why people cheat. However, there's always, when someone, why people cheat, the question comes up, well, once a cheater, always a cheater. Is that true? And that question is, once a cheater, always a cheater. Is it true? Do I believe in this? Came multiple times as well. So I can just merge these questions together. The answer to that is no, I don't believe that once a cheater, always a cheater. Okay. Which I'll answer a bit more in detail as we move forward, right? But why do people cheat? So I think I've already answered that. Okay. They could be seeking an emotional connection. They could be try to find. There could be an identity crisis as well. and this merges with another question, do midlife crises cause cheating? Again, these aren't black and white answers. There's a lot of nuances in cheating and affairs and stuff like this. But yes, people do cheat, or sometimes people would cheat because there's an identity crisis. They don't know who they are. They might be going through what we call a midlife crisis. They try to find the missing pieces within themselves. That could be a reason, right? It's not the reason, but it is a reason. But there are many reasons why people cheat. Is it the partner's fault? And this is a question that I'm creating myself, to attach to this. Why do people cheat? Is it ever the partner's fault? Why people cheat? And that is a gold question. Okay. The reality is cheating is a conscious choice of the person who cheated, which means the choice, the person who had this choice and made this choice and took this choice, takes the accountability and the responsibility for that. Taking responsibility for choosing to cheat doesn't mean taking responsibility for the history of the marriage, all the responsibility for all the bad stuff that's happened in the marriage. And that's where people don't know how to differentiate between the two. Okay? There is a difference, but a choice is something that is made intentionally, consciously. You don't just trip over and slip and accidentally commit adultery, right? It's usually planned. You're not just accidentally doing it, right? It has to be calculated. It has to be planned. And then there comes a point where you can make a choice, and those choices are made. So the responsibility is on the cheater, and never on the one who was cheated on. All right? So get that clear. People will say, "Oh no, but they weren't giving me attention." Yes, we get that. Oh, but I didn't have, I like to have sex 5 times a day, and they only give it to me once a month or whatever. Okay, we hear you, but you still had a choice. You had 1,000 choices you could have made. Okay, whether it's speaking openly about it, having ongoing conversations about it, talking about what you need, talking about how unhappy you are, go to therapy, read books, do something, right? And even if you've done, oh, but I've done them, keep on doing it. Oh, well, I've done it and nothing's happening. Well, then leave, right? Like, you have choices. There's no excuse for this. And it goes back to, as Muslims, there's no excuse for sinning. You can't go on the day of judgment to God and say, well, Allah, my wife, she wasn't really giving me much. She wasn't putting out this and that, right? Is that an excuse? It's not, okay? So, as for that question, is ever the other person's fault? No. Do I believe in that once a cheater, always a cheater? No. Some people can cheat, and it's a one-off thing due to like a bad marriage, due to many reasons, not excuses, reasons. And they deeply regret it. They repent. They show remorse. They don't go back to those ways. They make changes. They set boundaries with themselves. They don't trust themselves in the sense of being, repeating certain lead-ups to it, right? And they make these changes and they never do it. And there's a big gap, big years and years of them not doing this ever again. When in the case of the partner finding out, in these cases, there are some cases which fall into this category where the marriage gets better. When there's remorse, when there's taking accountability, there's no, reversing the blame. Well, this is all your fault and I did this because of that. There's none of that. There's none of that, right? And they do the work, they grow. Many clients that I've worked with, and even books that I've read and other therapists and what have you, we can really take a marriage from bad to brand new all over again. They would say this is like marriage number 2. And that's what we work towards as well in betrayal therapy. We try to get them through. It's a lot of hard work, but the last phase is what we call marriage, creating marriage number 2. And that marriage number 2, this couple would say, and even the betrayed person would say, the marriage now is better than it was ever before, right? And I'm not going telling people to go and cheat so you can be a better marriage later. No, don't do that. Don't get me wrong. Hope people don't make snippets out of this. But it does have that possibility. Okay, next question. All right, this question is repeated in different forms. How can I get over my husband's cheating? He doesn't want to try anything and he shuts me down. Okay, so this came up a lot. How can I get over? How can I stop being hurt? Right? These are the questions that come in. So how can I get over and heal? That word heal comes up a lot to me. How can I heal from my husband's cheating, who doesn't stop cheating, doesn't acknowledge, doesn't go to therapy, doesn't show remorse, or shows a little bit of remorse, but it's fake remorse, right? How do I heal? This come up a lot, right? So to answer this question, how can I get over my husband's cheating, and he doesn't want to do anything about it, doesn't want to talk about it, shuts me down? The short answer is you cannot. That's harsh, and I know people, especially maybe spiritual leaders, might tell you, oh, read this and do that. And yes, that's a cope. That helps you cope. Quran and religion, ad'iyah and words and supplications and all this stuff is very, very helpful for you to cope. But to get over, like there's a switch on the back of your, on your back that you can just flick it up and say, heal, or get over, or switch off, or whatever. Switch off the pain. Absolutely not. It actually doesn't make sense. It's impossible. Psychologically, it's impossible. Okay? You can't get over it, especially when it's still happening. Especially when, even if it happened years ago and there's no remorse and accountability, there's no change of behavior, they're still secretive, they're still telling you to get over it, they're still saying, oh, you still don't trust me, why do you want to look at my phone, and all this type of stuff. Obviously, they don't understand the psychology behind it, which I'll explain very, very shortly. So the short answer is you can't get over that. So you're stuck now at a crossroads, and you're going to hear me say this a lot. You get put at a crossroads in life. So this is you, and then this is the road. You can turn either right or left. Straight is impossible anymore. Straight is the relationship. Straight is impossible. So you have to choose either left or right. Right? So left is, you could be leaving the relationship, go to your own therapy, go and explore why you're dealing with this, go and explore what's going on inside of you, and then, take it from there. Or you can, just stay where you are and continue to feel this way. And I'm not victim blaming here, but we do have choices in life. So how can I get over it? You cannot. Similar question. How can I trust him again and gain the reassurance that he won't cheat? He shuts me down and tells me that I'm crazy and he doesn't want to get help. Again, these are the questions, right? Multiple. And I'll just keep on adding on whatever pops up in my mind. Trust is obviously something that is built, takes a lifetime to build, takes a long time to build. Trust is built in small, positive ways. All right, it's built in being there for your spouse, showing up for them, having your partner's back when they need you. Trust is usually built by answering this question: will my partner be there for me? Enter the, complete the sentence. Will my partner be there for me when I'm sick? Will my partner be there for me at my weakest point? Will my partner be there for me at my ugliest? Will my partner be there for me when I need A, B, C? That's what builds trust in those small moments. And part of that trust building is to show that your partner that you are committed to them. Okay. So that's required. So how can you trust him again and gain those reassurance that he won't cheat when he's not changing, he's not doing anything, and he's still very secretive? In this case, you'll be told to just get over it, as you said, to drop it. Again, that's impossible psychologically, which I'll explain soon. And to just flick that switch and stop asking questions. You don't have any more proof. And a lot of these relationships that I see are more court-based. Well, where's your proof? Where's your proof that I cheated? Yeah, I cheated before. But again, what proof do you have? And they're very secretive, right? So they focus on, because you don't have proof, you should get over it, okay? So trust, again, can't be rebuilt with someone who is not expressing remorse, who is not taking accountability, and is not being transparent. So there's still a lot of secrecy, okay? The next question. Allah Saadi, man, I don't know why I did this in Ramadan. I'm so thirsty. All right, here's a bit of a different question. Whenever my fiance disappears, I assume that he's cheating. Why? All right, so I don't know. I mean, that's all I get, right? That's all I get. So I have to go off possibilities. So whoever's listening to this, don't take this as fatwa, like as verdicts, right? This is a verdict. These are possibilities. These are, what could be happening, okay? So when your fiance disappears, you assume he's cheating. It could be. So one possibility could be you may have been cheated on before. You may have been abandoned by a parent. You may have been cheated by your parents. And people say, what? How the hell can a parent cheat on a child? When you cheat in a marriage, you're also cheating on your children. Remember that, okay? They feel betrayed just like the spouse, the betrayed spouse feels betrayed. And they go through the same emotions and pain just like the betrayed person. So maybe your parents cheated, one of them or both of them. So then you have maybe this fear of abandonment. Maybe from childhood, that people will cheat or people might leave me, right? My dad did it to my mum, or my mum did it to my dad. So therefore, you might seek the familiar. So you might be engaged to someone that reminds you of your dad, even though there's some red flags, right? There's some red flags there, some toxic behaviors, but yet you're still pursuing because, love is blind, and he reminds you of your dad, so make you feel comfortable. And then when he disappears, also it reminds you of your dad that, he cheated. Or someone cheated on you in the past in other relationships. So past experiences pretty much, right? And that's why you assume that he is cheating. Or it could also be bad exposure to Facebook groups. You believe that all men are cheaters. So you're probably part of a group about cheating, or a group on marriage problems where people post anonymously, my husband cheated. So all you see is men cheating. And you start to think, well, damn, all men cheat. So then you get engaged and you take that belief with you. So that's another possibility why you think your fiance is going to disappear on you. The other possibility, on the other hand, so that was you. Now going to him. He may be giving you inconsistent signs. He might be available a little bit and then disappears for a bit. Ghosting is this common thing these days. He's inconsistent. He's not there when he says he'll be there. You make an appointment, he doesn't show up. He's late. Doesn't apologize. Doesn't take a responsibility. He might have cheated in the past and told you, right? You might be engaged to someone who's cheated in the past. So there's different possibilities as to why you feel that your fiance is cheating when he disappears. I mean, disappearing is a toxic trait. He shouldn't be disappearing. You need to be, you need to generally know where your partner is, or even though he's your fiance. Disappearing means he's not responding to messages. He's not responding to phone calls. He's leaving you on tick, or what do they call it? One tick thing on red. These are red flags to look into. If this is consistent, right, and this is what they're doing, they don't take accountability where they are and what they're doing, and that's a red flag, right, for you to look into. I'm not going to say it's enough for you to leave, but it is definitely potential that this will continue into your marriage. I hope that answers the question. I'll answer a few here. I'll probably be here till tomorrow if I want to answer every single question, but use it here. I like to give my viewers Mary Garcia, excuse me if I didn't say that right. Do men only care if it's a sexual affair, not an emotional one? Do men only care if it's a sexual? Oh, okay. So if their wife cheats, men, and there's some studies to this, but also all our experiences and our culture attests to this, that men take cheating, if their wife cheated, worse than what women will take men. All right. This is not to say that women don't have it bad. They do. Their trauma, and I'll explain very soon. But men have it worse, especially from different certain cultures. They will take it worse, right? Like I'll explain, right? So why do I only deal, and many therapists mainly deal, very rarely do we deal with cases where the woman cheated and the man is still there, and what have you, right? But we see the opposite. We see that the man cheated and the woman is the one that's trying to fix things. Does that mean that women don't cheat? Absolutely not. It doesn't mean that. But that's what we deal with, because part of this culture that I'm talking about is that when the wife cheats, the society, the family, the people, the imams, and if you're from another religion, those leaders as well, there's this unwritten rule or expectation that if your wife cheats, you need to leave ASAP. You'll be looked at like, what? And you'll be looked down upon like, you're still with her, and they might go to to like imams and stuff, and if they even might show them like, no, you have to leave her right now, you must leave her now, how dare she do this to you, and I get it, yeah, it's bad, it is bad. But then you reverse it, and this is why I deal with men who are cheaters, is that when the man cheats, the woman is told by society, by community, by imams, by people, by some dodgy counselors, you must forgive, you must give another chance. What did you do? I mean, how many times have we heard victim blaming females by imams? That was going on throughout history. Okay, usually imams who come from overseas and they don't know how to speak proper English here, they bring that culture with them. When they're brought to this case is brought to them, they're told her, what did you do wrong? Do you have sex with him enough? Do you wear lingerie for him? Have you tried oral sex? Have you updated your lingerie wardrobe? I swear to God, this is what they're met with, right? And when you know the trauma behind it, and then you face this, you feel further betrayed, right, by your community. But so they're told to seek help, be patient, forgive him. So then they come to therapy, right? But the other side is not true. So I hope that answers your question. I don't know where are we? Do men care? Okay, yeah. So no, they do care if it's emotional as well. But the sexual ones are like rarely forgiven, rarely wanting to be worked through. It's not always the case. I know, but I have had female cheaters, and the man wanted to repair and fix. He was empathetic. He understood what led to it. He was unavailable and all this type of stuff. Although I still try to tell him, don't blame yourself for this. It was a choice she made. But still, he can see his part in it, right? Next question. Right. How do we deal with the resentment towards the betrayer? How do we deal with the resentment towards the betrayer? Okay, so resentment and contempt are quite similar. Resentment is something that's built up over time. Resentment is a feeling that you have, but it's not just it's different. It's slightly different to like happy, sad, angry, and stuff. Resentment is built up over time. You can't just meet someone and just resent them, even if they punch you in the face. You still want to be like, huh? What's going on here? Why did I get punched? You don't reach the level of resentment. So resentment is built up over time through negative interactions, right? Through a lack of appreciation, through a lack of respect, through a lack of transparency, through a lack of accountability. So then this resentment is built up. Now you're saying that he's a betrayer. He's betrayed you. How do I deal with this resentment? In a nutshell, without going too much into details, right, is that resentment, excuse me, resentment and pain must be faced with remorse and transparency. It needs to be met with that. It won't fix it straight away, but that's the antidote. But it takes a lot of that and years of that. Okay, so the pain and the resentment, the hatred, has to be met with remorse. Okay, it needs to be met. Now it's like, how can I explain this, right? It's like the resentment is this big, and I'm just popping this up in my head. I like metaphors, but I make them up as I go. Imagine a bucket of filthy water, and you got a filter there or something, right? You can't just turn it on for 1 minute. You got to turn it on, leave it on for days until the water's absolutely clear. It's like that, right? So you got to meet resentment. The person who betrayed you needs to meet that resentment with remorse, with accountability, with empathy, with understanding, right? Not with, oh my God, still not over her. I'm not, all that crap that I've just been saying the whole time. Victim blaming, it's all your fault, get over it. You're crazy. What do you mean? You don't have proof, blah, blah, blah. All this marriage destroying sentences. If you want to ruin your marriage, say these things that I'm saying. Okay, next question. It looks like there's a spammer here asking for money. How do I block this person? Because I want to read the comments here. Ban. Sorry, my brother, you've been banned. Okay. Where are we? I don't know why it's not going up. Okay, I wish more men would hear you say that. Many men don't take their feelings of their kids. Oh, right. What's going on, man? This guy spammed my thing and I can't even scroll. Scholars need to stop telling women to be patient when seeking help and advice. Many are made to feel like it's their fault. Yeah. Okay. There's a question about narcissists. I won't answer those questions. I mean, there are sexual narcissists, and if a narcissist did cheat, God help you, because you'll get nothing out of them. But victim blaming, it's all your fault. Let's move on. Can a person who betrayed change even if they don't behave like they regret their actions? Absolutely not. Like I said before, they don't have the condition. The condition of trust to be rebuilt is that they need to show ongoing expressions of remorse, and that every time their partner who has been betrayed flares up, they're triggered, they need to say, okay, this is due to me, causing this. And is this because of that? If it is, I'll give you space. They have that empathy towards it, rather than, not changing their behaviors. So here they're saying they haven't changed their behaviors and they don't regret. Absolutely not. Even in Islam, part of the conditions of repentance is to regret what you did, to have remorse, for what you did. And you got to show that through your actions. It's not just a feeling. You got to make changes, right? So if, for example, Facebook was your path to cheating, then you got to get rid of Facebook. Or put your partner, give your access partner, for example, whatever, right? So there has to be some changed behavior, absolutely. Another narcissist question. Go to the next one. Okay, how can you learn to trust someone or someone's actions after dealing with a lying and a cheating ex? So a cheating ex, you've been cheated on, and you've been lied on, probably multiple times, and now you're you're moving on to a new relationship. How can you learn to trust someone? Okay, so if you have been cheated on and lied to in your past relationship, you would need to do some inner work before moving on. Now, there isn't a time frame where, it needs to be 1 year, or it needs to be 5 years, or it needs to be, you need to do, X amount of therapy sessions or read certain books. There isn't a timeline. I've met people, and it's quite rare, I'm not encouraging this, I don't encourage it, but I have met people who have proven me wrong in my journey of I learn from my clients, to be honest. And they were cheated on and, all this type of stuff. And 6 months later, they got remarried. And then they've been married for another 10 years after that. And they were okay. They were okay to remarry. What they did was they were open to this person, to their new, to the new husband. They said, I was cheated on. This is my, I'm being vulnerable to. But obviously they trust the husband, at a point where they can say this. And I need you to remember this, And the new husband was reassuring. He knew that when she was triggered, what's going on, he would give her reassurance without saying, "Oh, you're still not over your stupid ex, and why am I carrying or copying the baggage of that son of a bitch," or whatever, you know what I mean? They're not doing that. They're like, "Okay, I get this. This is my new partner. We're going to do this together. I've chosen them. And this is part of that baggage," right? And we all have baggage. So that's how you can learn to trust someone. And try to have a general assumption that people are good until proven otherwise, And unless you see certain behaviors, red flags, inconsistent stuff, you can learn to trust someone when they're there for you. Next question. I'm old school. I've got my questions screenshotted from my phone, sent to my laptop, or disorganized everywhere. That's the Instagram ones. Then I've got my Facebook ones on another phone. So bear with me. Does choosing to stay after being betrayed have a negative effect on the relationship? We can't say yes or no. If nothing's done, then yes. If nothing's done, then yes, it will have a negative effect, and a prolonged negative effect for a very, very long time. I would say forever, for the rest of the marriage, if nothing's done. It'll always be there. The trauma will always be there. And now I'll tap into a little bit of the psychology behind it, okay? Because I'll finish all this and I'll forget it. When you are, I said this in my other video, right? So if you want, just go watch that video. So when you've been cheated on, it causes PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And a symptom of post-traumatic stress disorder is avoidance, right? They would avoid the certain thing. Now, PTSD was previously only known to be through, people of like sexual victims of sexual assault, war veterans, people who experienced a natural disaster or a bomb or explosion or a death or whatever, a murder in front of them. This causes PTSD. So it was like a single event, right? This is before. But in marital situation or psychological situations, or dealing with a narcissist, for example, or a chronic cheater, is that you can't narrow it down to a single event, right? And even the other ones, you can't narrow it down to one single event. Some people have been sexually assaulted for multiple years. I'm not talking about that. But there's this symptom of avoidance, right? So they would avoid. So for example, I know many people who have been sexually assaulted by I don't want to mention it because it'll open up a can of worms, and I don't want to mention it now, but they've been sexually assaulted, abused by people in sort of religious type of power, right? So then they will avoid. Look, yeah, I'm going into it. So let's say it was a Quran teacher, right, in Pakistan or India or whatever, or Middle East. These kids will then grow up and become triggered to the Quran, especially the verses that they remember around that time, okay, around that event. So triggers are things that happen after a traumatic event. Triggers could be smells, memories. They could be things like phones. It could be anything. Triggers could be absolutely anything that take the person back to that traumatic event. And the brain, there are some brain changes. When you've been traumatized, the brain goes through some changes. And that changes then affects the nervous system. So your nervous system becomes sort of like hypervigilant, in sort of like a fight and flight mode. So those triggers that come up, you avoid them, right? Naturally. But when you've been cheated on, back to this, when you've been cheated on, you have PTSD, and the trigger is your husband. You know, you can't avoid it. I mean, not that you can't avoid it, but you're not avoiding it. The trigger is your husband. You're not like, you know, it's not like, it's not India or, you know, certain things or whatever, right? It's your husband. So they themselves are the trigger. So staying in that will definitely have a negative effect on you. Psychologically, you will have some, you know, it can develop some mental illnesses even. Okay. So some things I've seen happen is, you know, they say to me that, you know, every time my husband wears perfume, a certain perfume, I become triggered, and then I may react, and then he shuts me down, and we're back into square one. He calls me crazy. I'm still not over it. I'm just wearing perfume. What's wrong with you? Instead of meeting it with compassion, empathy, remorse. Okay. When you meet it with remorse and empathy, the trigger starts to shrink. It has the more, and it's like a paradox, right? The more you invalidate it, the more it grows into a monster, the trauma, or the more it expands. But the more you validate it and empathize it, and you know, approach them, meet them with something like an approach of, I see your pain, I feel your pain, I hear your pain. Your pain makes sense to me. You know, I put this perfume on, you know, and I put it on before. You're triggered. This makes sense to me, you know, and I feel your pain. I'm sorry. You know, let's talk about how we can avoid this. Do you want me to throw out this perfume? That's the approach, right? But staying in a relationship where there's none of this happening, then you are being triggered and triggered and triggered and triggered and triggered and triggered every single day. I get betrayed wives tell me that even when he, you know, shaves his private parts, I'm triggered. You know, if he does a certain thing, I'm triggered. You have to go through the work. There has to be some work done, right? But if there's if you do something about it, it can have a positive effect, right? As I said before, sometimes it may have the potential to make your marriage even better than what it was before. It's been an hour, and I've only went through a couple of questions. We're doing good. If I pass out, those who know me, you know where my office is. Just not kick the door down. Okay, how do we recover when the cheater isn't willing to take ownership? You can't. There's no recovery switch at the back of your body where you can just recover from that. They need to take ownership. It's a requirement for trust to be rebuilt. Moving forward, I don't know if there's going to be a lot of divorces after this. If there is, don't come to me. Sorry. You should go see, if you do want to seek divorce, you go see the imams for that. Okay, not me. I try fixing your marriage. But I don't fix marriage at all costs. Okay. What signs to look out for prior to marriage that he is a cheater? I mentioned that with the other question. So look for a lot of things, and these aren't, you know, one of these aren't enough to end the relationship. But these are things to look out for. His view on women. Okay, like, are women, you know, low value women? Are all women low value skanks they've got to put up? Are all women subservient type slave type people who don't have their own character, personality, wishes, needs, wants? See if they have any of these toxic beliefs. You see it in their conversations, so you can conversate with them. Maybe talk about certain things. Maybe a couple who they're going through this, and see what they say about it. Sometimes watching episodes and movies together, you can really see their true colors coming out. Like, I'm not encouraging this, right? I'm just sharing knowledge with you. Like, clients will tell me, oh, you know, we're watching Married at First Sight and all this other stuff, reality TV shows, and there's cheating in them, or it could be a movie or whatever. And then the couple discuss it, right? So the wife is already like, he's cheated before, he hasn't been transparent before. So she might say, I can't believe he did that to her, right? And he'll be like, oh, but she deserved it, and that type of language, right? And then that really triggers them. They end up fighting over it, right? So the wife's really seeking for herself, you know. She was hoping that he'd be saying stuff like, yeah, you know, he should have at least told her that he's not, you know, he wants to end the marriage first before moving on or whatever. So in conversation, okay, their views on females, what they think about cheating. Should a man be forgiven if he was cheating? You can ask these questions. Look at things that have got nothing to do with cheating. So cheaters have prerequisites that they don't show accountability. They don't like to be questioned. They don't apologize. And if they do, the apology is a toxic one. I'm sorry, but you, whatever. They don't take full accountability for it. If they're late, they don't notify that they're late. They don't care. They don't give a crap. They're rude. So you might be at a restaurant, let's say. They're rude to the waitress. They're like, "Hey, you, come here." Listen, and they've got the menu there. And no, you listen to me when I'm talking to you. And they're very rude and abrupt. You know what I mean? And they might get the something wrong or whatever, and they blow up. And they might say words like slut. They just say the word slut to women like that. These are signs, okay? If he disappears on you, that's a sign. Not to say that they will cheat if they have these signs, but these are signs of a cheater. Look for inconsistencies, their views on women, their view on if a man cheats. Talk about, what the definition of cheating is as well. Stuff like that. Next question is, do you agree that once a cheater, always a cheater? I answered that. The answer is no. But if they're a sex addict and they're chronic cheaters, then there's a high possibility that they will continue to cheat. Once a cheater. So in other words, it's very minimal, very, very, very minimal. Once, max, Twice, you might be entering the world, the department of a chronic cheater, or a multiple affairs person, cheater. Next one. Okay. How to overcome and heal trauma from serial cheating from previous relationships. I've read many books. I've attended many therapy sessions with psychologists and counselors. I've seen coaches. I've done EMDR for trauma, and I don't seem to get over it. I'm married, and my partner, sorry, they've taken up a few cards here. My partner is showing signs of cheating. Okay, well, that's the answer there. There could be a lack of transparency there. There's triggers that aren't being dealt with. Have you told your husband about your past relationships? And what triggers, what triggers you? Have you had the discussion with him, or are you just assuming that he knows? There is a responsibility on you to have those discussions with him. Tell him what is what are your triggers, what happened in the past, and maybe he can be sensitive to that, right? So that's how you can overcome that trauma. But the trauma itself, you've tried everything, it's not working. All I can say is that keep on trying. There's no timeline and due date to when you do this work and then you end up healing. It doesn't work that way. And what is healing anyway? That's another question. What is healing? People say, "Oh, am I healed? Can I get married again?" What's healing? Right? Healing is the ability to control, to not let the trauma and the triggers sort of overtake and control your behaviors and your thoughts and stuff like that. Healing is to get the nervous system, because really it's the nervous system that's reacting here, okay? Get the nervous system from a place of fight and flight, hypervigilance, hypervigilance of checking and wanting to know and surveillance and all these types of things. Get it from that place to a place of safety, okay? That's pretty much what it is. That has to happen over and over and over again. So there's times where you won't feel this way, and there's times that you will feel this way. It doesn't mean you're not healed, right? We're all healing in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't end, right? It's like iman for the faith. Where does it end? You keep on doing it, right? Does it go down? Yes, it goes down. Does it come up? It comes back up. All right, I'm getting very tired, dizzy even, so I might go through some good ones. Give me a second. Ask some questions here if you like. Okay, again, how do you get over your husband's cheating and try to fix things? What's the solution? I hear words like, how do I heal? How do I fix? What's the solution? Please help me. You know, I'm not laughing. Well, when I'm fasting, it gets the best of me. But that's what I see. It's like, help. How can I heal? What's the solution for my... It doesn't work this way. Absolutely does not. So hopefully this video educates you a little bit. Let it go viral. Teach people. Should I be trying to fix things when your husband doesn't want to fix things when he's been caught cheating? Lopsided, one-sided relationships don't work even without cheating. And what I mean by one-sided, I mean one-sided for a very, very long time. That defines the entire marriage. Not one-sided for a short while. Maybe the other person's sick or whatever. Okay. I will end my part. There's still more. I don't know where I ended. I'll probably do in part 2 or whatever. But I want to end it with the 5 criteria to build trust. This is general, okay? There's 5 criteria to build trust. The first criteria is honesty, okay? There needs to be honesty in the marriage in order to build and maintain trust. Honesty means that you don't lie. Okay, so there's no lying. Lying is a big thing. You don't lie. You tell the truth even if it costs you some pain. Some short-term pain, long-term gains. I don't know, I just made that up. But short-term pain is better than long-term trauma, okay? You tell the truth and you're honest. You're upright in your words. You don't break promises. Right? And if you do, you take accountability, which is the second criteria for trust. So honesty is the first one. Don't lie. If there's a pattern of lying, then this is a sign of a cheater, and this will break your trust. Okay. The second one is accountability. So when they do make a promise and they couldn't make it because they're human beings, they take accountability, they change their behavior, they apologize. They don't look for who to blame. They don't have this personality of when something happens, who do I assign blame to? Whose fault is this? Because it's definitely not mine because I'm perfect, right? It's not taken that way. Accountability is when they're late, they say, hey, I'm late. I'm going to be half an hour late. I'm sorry. I apologize. There was traffic. Thanks for your patience. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to disappearing. And then when you bring it up, oh, it was just half an hour. Get over it. Blah, blah, blah. You know, that type of stuff. Invalidating. So honesty, accountability, so keeping your promises, following through your actions and your commitments, and apologize and change your behavior. The third one is transparency, right? Transparency is do not be secretive. If you are secretive, trust is being chipped away in your marriage. I don't care what anyone says. If you want to be, and we do this, you know, well, she can't see my phone, you know what I mean? When she brings up, for example, he takes his phone to the toilet and you know, I've caught him masturbating many times, and there's a history of him being on these websites and all this stuff. Please, just let me have a look at your phone just to give me some reassurance, right? Now they're hypervigilant, nervous system activated. Oh, you're crazy, and she can't look at my phone. That's a break of privacy and all this type of excuses, right? Transparency is very, very important, especially after betrayal. If your wife needs reassurance, your partner needs reassurance, by them saying, I don't want you to be hugging your phone. I didn't even get together for the Facebook questions. But I don't want you to be hugging your phone all the time. Waking up, your phone's wrapped to your hand, going to sleep, in a toilet, in the shower, everywhere. It's there, and it's upside down, and it doesn't ring. And, you know, there's this new screen thing now you can put so someone next to you can't see it. It's made for cheaters. Prove me wrong. There's that, or there's this happening, a lot of that. Now I understand sometimes, oh, it's a private email, we get it. Sometimes there's some privacy, we get it. But we're talking consistency, repeated stuff. It's not always a private email, habibi. You know what I mean? So there's this hiding, there's this flipping the phone around, or quick movement when they walk in or whatever. This is not transparent. Where were you? I don't have to tell you where I am. I'm the man. What's for food? That mentality breaks trust, and so never be secretive. Okay, secrecy shows will cause doubt. You're creating or giving reasons why the other person has doubt, or starts to not trust you 100%. The fourth one is ethical actions. Okay, ethical actions is, you can call this in Islam, adab and akhlaq. Okay, the Prophet, peace be upon him, was sent to perfect good character and morals, and this criteria is to be ethical, meaning stay away from all immorality, all immoral behavior, and anything that may cause doubt. Okay, so for example, you're driving, you got your wife in the passenger seat and your kids in the back, and you're so low that you do this while you're driving, and your whole family's watching you. All right, rubber neck, your neck hurts like this all the time, and the wife's talking to you, you're like, yeah, huh? Especially when you go to the beach, right? That's unethical. That's going to cause some doubt there, 100%. Imagine if you do that in front of your kids, in front of your wife. Imagine what you do when they're not around. That's what they're thinking, and that's why I call it, low in Arabic, because it is a low act. So ethical actions needs to be up there in the marriage. Good character with each other, good manners with each other, respecting each other. This builds trust when you respect each other. Respecting the other person's boundaries, right? Staying away from, lowering your gaze, not looking at haram things or pornography, and obviously not going to do and commit adultery, right? That's what ethical actions are. Avoid flirtatious behavior. If your partner taps you on the shoulder and says, "Hey man, I get you, that's your colleague and whatever, your client, but it was a little bit flirtatious there. Pull up, huh?" And you're like, "Yeah, right, jazakallah khair. Thank you." If you got a spouse like that, you got to keep her, right? If you got a spouse that taps you on the shoulder from time to time and pulls you up and reminds you to go back on your path, that's what you want in a spouse. You don't want someone to who doesn't do that. Okay, you want someone who has that, and that's part of ethical actions in the marriage, akhlaq and adab and good manners, and stay away from all immorality. Criteria number 5 to build trust is creating and building a proof of alliance. This is always having each other's backs. Align with your spouse against the world, even if it's against, doesn't matter who it is, right? You don't let your mum and dad control your spouse. Okay, that's not a proof of alliance. If a man is doing this, if a man lets his mum or dad control his wife, then you're not a man. Okay, your private parts in your mother's purse, and you need to ask permission for whenever you need to use it. And that's not what a man is. I'm not saying disrespect your mother, but they are two separate pedestals or two separate relationships. Okay, your duties with your mother, with your father, and what have you, but they have no control over your wife. You're not the medium to your wife, right? Or vice versa with the wife and her husband. There are controlling mums of wives, and what have you. So a proof of alliance is when any external person tries to enter this sacred zone of marriage, right? There's like a bubble, that's the marriage, and you got maybe the next bubble around that could be in-laws and parent and family. If they try to step into this bubble and intrude, like in an intrusive way, then you got to show proof of alliance to your spouse by saying, "Don't say that about my partner. I don't appreciate you calling my wife names. I don't appreciate you talking bad about my husband. If you do that again, I will leave this conversation." And then they learn over time that, okay, this is a boundary for them, if they respect your boundaries. But if they don't, then that's a different story. So a proof of alliance is having each other's backs, okay? And I'm using those examples because let's look at the opposite. I always look at the opposites, right? Opposite, because there's a principle in Islam that you can learn something by learning its opposite. Okay, and I love that. I use that with my clients a lot. So the opposite of not having your partner's back, what happens? They lose trust that you will be there for them. That you will be there for them. Yeah, they'll lose that trust. It doesn't have to always be sexual. You might be having a conversation, or you and your partner might be having a conversation, and this is a small way of building this proof of alliance. This is different to betrayals, but still it builds trust. So your wife might be venting to you, talking about her day, and then she might say something about someone, okay, that what they did to them, you know, how maybe they hurt them, they said something to them, call them names, whatever. What hurts the partner here is by saying, yeah, but you know, look, they're old, don't worry about them. Are you sure they meant to? Yeah, but look, you can be a little bit hard sometimes. What happened here is you sided with the enemy in this conversation, right? And it makes the person frustrated, even the husbands, you know, not just the wives. And they're like frustrated, and when this happens over and over and over and over again, you feel that you don't have my back, right? But the opposite of this is where you take your partner's side, right? You're saying, wow, and you don't have to agree with it. Empathizing and validating doesn't mean agreeing. You can say stuff like, they said that to you. Wow, that must have been annoying to you, you know? What else did they say? And, you know, you show, like, if they say something like, oh, they called me a bitch, you go, you show that in your face, you know, you're mirroring in a way. And that's a proof of alliance, okay? So it starts small in those ways, in little conversations, siding with your partner, siding with their feelings, all the way up to cheating and being or betraying your partner. So when you betray your partner, obviously you've broken this proof of alliance, right? You're telling someone else, hey, we have an alliance, secret to that alliance, don't let that person know. So then when you're with your spouse, you're walking around, she's thinking, we have an alliance, you know, but there's women that you've had other secret alliances with, right? So someone knows something about your partner that they don't know about, in a way. So cheating does break this proof of alliance. It's like a back door to your home, a secret back door that you go in and out from, and you create another house, right? That's what not having a proof of alliance is. So it's always have each other's backs. Don't side with the opposition. You don't have to agree with the facts or, you know, the detail, but you can still validate and empathize, like the example I gave, and act in your partner's best interest. And these are usually built up in small moments. So they're the five criteria for trust: honesty, so never lie; transparency, don't be secretive, right? Accountability for when you mess up; ethical actions and manners, and stay away from immorality; and creating a proof of alliance that I have your back. When you need me, I will be there. Okay. Alrighty. So let's get some questions and we'll wrap it up because I'm about to collapse. Okay, so just to wrap up, there is hope after an affair. Both need to want to do the work. Do you have to forgive? I'm just coming up with these questions. Do you have to forgive? The answer is you don't have to do anything. You don't have to stay. You don't have to forgive. You don't have to go. It's up to you. Okay, what you want to do and how, you know, what you feel is best for you. Obviously, don't make a decision by yourself. Don't rush decisions. You know, pray istikhara, seek counsel of learned and religious people that you trust. Get therapy even. You know, take your time with decision making. But can a couple heal if they both do the work? Yes, they can. There is some hope. Okay, I have seen it. I have seen it multiple times where they both want to put in the work. It's hard work, very, very hard work, and but it's possible. And if they both do the work, and there's no pathology to the person's personality, right? There's no narcissism. Forget about that, right? We're talking about normal people who cheated. Can they recover? Yes, they could. A lot of work has to be done. And their marriages can even be better than what it was before. Because usually when there's cheating, there are things like a lack of friendship in the marriage. There's a lack of appreciation, a lack of being seen, a lack of being heard, a lack of being understood, a lack of being your partner showing curiosity in you, in your life, in your world. There's a lack of bids for connection and attention, or you make bids and they're rejected. If you want to know more about bids, check out my video section. I think there's a few videos on bids for connection. That's all missing. So there's a lack of friendship, a lack of emotional intimacy, a lack of fun and excitement. Marriage gets stale and boring. Conflict management sucks. They don't know how to talk, so they sweep stuff under the carpet. There's small injuries, emotional injuries that haven't been resolved. Small traumas, you can say. There's no future or purpose of the marriage. They have no rituals for connection. They have no symbols in their marriage, like meaning. What does your marriage mean? What's the purpose of your marriage? What's the future of your marriage? What legacy do you want to leave behind? It has none of that, right? So then we see that the marriage can, there could be a spouse who would cheat. Then when they come into therapy, they regret it, they repent, they're remorseful. I can't believe I acted out of character. Their partner blows up with PTSD. They're not defensive. They allow the space, a safe space for the partner, the hurt partner, to show their trigger in a safe space, in a safe place. That their partner who hurt me, their partner who hurt them, right, who is a trigger in and of himself, over time, because the brain associates the cheater with unsafe, not safety. There's no safety. So anything he says, right, can really just blow up the betrayed person. So the cheater, the person who cheated, like there's a cheater because then it labels them, right? It doesn't sound too nice. The person who cheated then can become this. They create a safe space for the betrayed partner, and over time they can then associate. Their brain associates this person with peace and safety. But then they come to therapy and they work on this, right? And the cheating person atones and shows expressions of remorse. They're transparent. They set up boundaries. He respects the boundaries. We create in therapy a hierarchy of needs, sexual needs or intimacy. So the betrayed person creates this. They're in control now. That usually they don't like to be touched. So they create boundaries around that. When can you touch me, and how much can you kiss me? And I don't want to kiss because kisses lead to sex, and I don't want to have sex with you right now. And here's another question. If I show him that, if I have sex with him, then that he takes it as I've forgiven him, and he walks around like nothing happened. So I'll probably answer that in the next video. But yeah, so the betrayed partner creates this ladder or this hierarchy of affection, and then we after all that's done, and there's an acceptance of it, right? Because usually there's the denial of the betrayed partner. Sort of they're going through this denial. I can't believe this happened to me. When that's done, all that work's done, the trauma is treated. So the betrayer, the cheater, treats the trauma. He becomes like a paramedic where he's treating it. He's trying to heal it, help it. He knows that he's the trigger, and he gives it a space. After all that, we go into this. What happened? Let's look at the whole history. Was there a friendship? So we rebuild the friendship. We create an emotional connection. We get them at a beautiful state that they'd never even had before. Okay, closeness, connection, appreciation, respect, conflict management is beautiful. They can disagree, but it doesn't escalate. They learn from their conflicts. They know how to apologize and how to accept apologies, and they grow together, right? And this then creates a good sex life, better than before. Then we move them onto creating that future of the marriage. What next? The symbols and the rituals and what does it mean and all that type of stuff. We create this marriage number 2 for them. And that marriage number 2 most times is better than marriage number 1. So there is hope. Thank you for listening. I'm going to pass out. I'll try to make another video for another one. Maybe not in Ramadan because it's a killer, but maybe after. Thank you.